Optimism without action is a problem, right? Optimism without action is futile, right? Because what happens, man, is that the Bible talks about hope deferred make the heart sick. And my thing is, a lot of times people allow the motivation to be the driving force. I approach motivation as that thing that will awaken you. But after you are awakened, what are those next steps, right, to pursue the things that you want? What up, what up, what up? Listen, we are back again with another edition of a Father's Heart podcast. So listen, man, tonight I'm here solo dolo, and I just wanted to be consistent, man. My boy Cole is out, the bearded one. I got to do this thing by myself tonight, man, because my boy Cole uh, is preoccupied with doing some big things. But I told him I will hold it down. I will chop it up with the people tonight, man. So I'm excited, right, to get right into it, to chopping it up with you. I'm not gonna be here super long, but I just want to be able to connect with the people. And so yeah, I thought it would be like so ideal to talk about this whole new year. And the crazy thing about it, when we're talking about the new year, is like, people, just think about it. Man, it is already February. It's already February. And the crazy thing about it, man, is that time is flying and time stops for no one, as you already know. It does not stop for anyone, and it's not going to stop for you. And so, tonight I want to talk about New Year, New Me. And I'm curious to hear what is your thoughts? What is, how do you approach the new year? How do you approach when you are passionately pursuing, big dreams, and you passionately pursuing the things that you know that God has placed on the inside of you? How do you approach it? Right? Like, what is that? What is that method? What is that model you use to approach the things that God has placed on the inside of you, right? And so, a lot of times, man, you hear people talk about, new year, new me, new year, new me. And I get it. I know exactly what you are talking about when you talk about the new year, new me. You just like, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to make some amazing things happen. But I just want to challenge you a little bit, right? And just have a conversation. Is that, when I coach people, they come with the aspect of like, yo, this is a new year, this is me. And I want you to be, my thing is, I want you to be extremely excited. I don't want you to be pessimistic. I want you to be optimistic. But, optimism without action is a problem, right? Optimism without action is futile, right? Because what happens, man, is that, the Bible talks about hope deferred make the heart sick. And my thing is, a lot of times people allow the motivation to be the driving force. And me, right? I do motivational speaking. But I try to, even in my talks about motivation is the beginning of it. The way I look at motivation is like, that's the CPR, like the little, I don't even know what you talk about. They be like clear, where you got to stick the electrodes on people, is like to awaken them, right? And that's the way I approach, motivation. I approach motivation as that thing that will awaken you. But after you are awakened, what are those next steps, right, to pursue the things that you want? And a lot of times what happens, people lose hope from inspiration to manifestation. That's where people, they teeter off. That's where they fail, right? And so my thing is, just, by saying new year, new me, that's not a reality, right? It starts with the mind. So I want you to be extremely positive and optimistic and motivated. But the problem is, man, is that so many of us, right, is that we uh, hope and wish things to happen and never put the right corresponding action to it, right? And so a lot of times we put action, but what is the right corresponding action? And I tell you, and I just look at my process, the process of what I've been building and what God has opened up a door for me to build with my wife and my family is this whole involved dad thing, right? And when I first started, it wasn't popular, right? Because people was like, "Yo, you helping these grown big men? Like, yo, they don't need help. Like, why am I going to invest in this?" And so, if I would have allowed people to stop me from pursuing what was on the inside of me, I wouldn't be here where I am uh, today, right? Because the biggest thing is that a lot of the outside noise will, if they don't understand it, that they will do everything in their power to shut you down. They would do everything, and a lot of times it's not intentional. It's not intentional that they want to shut you down. It's just they don't understand it, and so they're trying to protect you from disappointment. They're trying to protect you from hurting yourself. And it's not always that they're hating. A lot of times you can't just say like, "Oh, they hating on me." No, a lot of times they don't understand and they trying to protect you. And I get it, but you have to make sure that you don't allow other people thoughts of you and other people perspective of you stop you from passionately pursuing what you know you're supposed to be pursuing. So just saying new year new me is not going to change anything. I want to challenge you to move with corresponding the right action. Like, what are the necessary steps that you need to take, right? So let's take it like this. And you say, I want to make more money, right? That's cool, but what happens after you make that money? So making more money shouldn't be your goal, because after you make more money, then everything stops, right? Because if you don't have a shift in the way you think, then once you get there, all you're going to do is lose it, right? Because if making more money is the goal, now what that you make more money? Like, how are you going to maintain it? How are you going to sustain it? Because now the new goal is to make more money to fulfill whatever you need at that moment. So the goal shouldn't just be making more money. What is the lifestyle change that you're trying to make? Who are you trying to become? Right? So the thing about it, instead of making more money, is that I want to be wealthy, right? And so now when I break down what is wealth, wealth is not just with money. I want to be able to provide for those that are in need. Who are those that I want to provide for? I want to be a conduit, right? I want to be able to be an answer. I want to be able to be a solution. I want to be in a position that if somebody needs something, that I can use my resources and help them. So if I was just to leave it, I want to make more money. Like, what is that? What is the more money? How much is the more money? So when you're talking about this, thing of pursuing your goals, I want you to think about the transformation of who you are becoming. Like, who will I become in this process? Right? Like, who would I become? And you hear me say all the time, man, is that I don't want to be a public success and a private failure. That became or is one of my main models. I start saying it, my kids finish the sentence for me. Right? Soon as I start saying it, they finish the sentence for me. And then the other thing I say all the time is that it's not a problem until it's problem. So things that I say, my kids already know, right? Because these are mantras and things that I live by. And so I just want you to understand that goals are great, and I have goals, but my goals are leading me to an end. My goals are not just like, okay, it's here. I want to lose weight, right? That can be a short-term goal, but what is the long term? I want to be healthy. I want to live for a very long time for my children, right? I want to be able to live for these many years. This is the quality of life. But in the midst of that, there are goals that I have to obtain to live that type of lifestyle. Right. So I just want to help you shift your way of thinking when we're talking about goals and the things that we want to achieve in life, right? It's that don't get stuck at goals. Don't get stuck at the stuff and obtaining the one thing. It's about transformation and it's about becoming, so that way when you arrive at that place that is sustainable. And that's what I look at, the company that we're growing is that we are looking at sustainability. How what type of investments are we making now that when Shon is no longer here, involved dad is still living? Like, what type of investments am I making? What type of, systems and processes are we creating at our company that is sustainable, that when a bump hits, well, we hit a bump in the road, or this funding source is not there, that funding source, but we are still able to provide services to men and children, right? And so I have to think about that. I have to think about that. If I think about just a short term goal, then that is short lived, right? And then I had to be honest, right? And so I want you, the other aspect of it is being honest, right? Taking an inventory of yourself and your resources and what you have access to. And I had to ask the question, like, Shon, what will prevent you from obtaining this lifestyle you want? What will prevent you from being able to touch hundreds of thousands of men each year on a consistent basis? And one of the things that I identified is at the time, my inability to be consistent and organized. Right. So I knew that would be the one kryptonite that would stop me from being able to be to build and help as many men and families as I want. And so what I had to do is really this year I got really super like laser focused, is that I came up with one word, and one word that will help keep me focused. And that one word is intentional. And I chose intentional is because I wasn't intentional, right? I was moving and going after the things that I love and I desire out of passion, out of sure like grit and grind, and really hung my hat on grit and grind. Like I'm out here grinding. But when I thought about it, man, I was tired at night, right? And not saying I'm not tired now, but I was working a lot harder. And so now, as I sit back, I'm like, Shon, you have to be intentional with your time, like the time I'm spending with you here. Right, I have other things that I could be doing, but I know I made a commitment, and I said that I'm gonna set this time aside, 8 o'clock Thursday nights. I'm gonna be intentional about serving those that God has called me to serve. Not everybody. I'm only called to serve those who I'm assigned to. And I don't try to reach anybody else, right? Because that's not my tribe. And so that's where I became and is becoming laser focused, so that way I can hit pay dirt whenever I take action, right? And so I want you to come up with one word that will help you to become more laser focused. I want you to find one word that will help you, right? And in the midst of that, like, what can you establish that will help you become, and I'm gonna use my word, intentional about being committed to your one word. And your one word may be freedom. Or so what is freedom? When you hear the word freedom, what is that, right? So freedom may be a word that triggers you to say, you know what, everything that I do is going to put me in a place for me to become, free from debt, free from unhealthy relationships. I want to be free from drugs and alcohol. I want to be free from whatever it is. So when you hear that word free and freedom, is going to trigger you to say, you know what, these are the things that I'm going to be intentional about. These are the things that I'm going to focus on. Right. And so that's extremely important, right, for you to be intentional about those things. And so with my word being intentional, this has been the greatest year I've had since I've been a business owner. Why? Because I've been intentional. The things that I've been digesting, the things when I'm having downtime, how am I spending my time? How am I being intentional? How am I spending my quality time with my wife, my children, the whole nine of relationships, right? And so I just want you to, for this new year, to make a recommitment to you, right? Recommit to you that you will um, be committed to your process, and you won't. And can you do me another favor? I'm asking you for a favor, right? And the favor that I'm asking you is to stop watching other people live their lives, right? Don't like, for real. We see people their highlight reels, and if you would have seen me some years ago, um, you would have said, "Yeah, I want that, and that's attractive." But you didn't want what I was the way I was living, right? It wasn't healthy. It wasn't healthy. On the outside, it looked like something, but it wasn't until I got laser focused and really had to do some soul searching. And so my thing to you is, don't get caught up on what you see uh, on social media. Don't get caught up on who's liking your posts and what people have, and they putting these testimonies out there. And don't get caught up on that. If you feel and you notice that it's causing you to get triggered, if it's causing you for you to fall into depression, if it's causing you to be more cantankerous or starting arguments and beefs in your home, then you know what? Abstain from social media and do the work. Right. So just because you get off social media doesn't mean that whatever is in there is going to stop being in there. So I need you to still deal with the stuff that's in there that's causing you to be triggered. But I just want you to be intentional and not, at least not allowing social media to be the one thing that will cause you to throw it all away. Don't get caught up in the social media. Don't get caught up in the hype, man. Don't get caught up, right? And I want you to take an inventory and looking at your social media. What's being played on your social media? Like what's really because Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, all of it, they only show you the things that you spend time looking at. And I want you to spend time and look at your social media account and see what's on your timeline. And I want you to ask, and I want to ask you to ask yourself, is this helping me to accomplish what I want to accomplish? Would I want my children, would I coach somebody and encourage them to look at your timeline because your timeline is going to help them become a better person or a better version of themselves, right? Do an inventory. Look at your Twitter account, right? Look at all of those things, take an inventory, and then make a decision and make the necessary adjustments, right? You don't have to overcorrect. That's the problem. We overcorrect. That's where the problem is. You don't need to overcorrect. You may just need to make a few corrections, a few adjustments, right? That will help you become 1% better, a 1% better version of you, right? So that's what I have for you this week, right? Just, I want you to become a better version of you. And I want you to do that by being intentional, right? Just being intentional, being the best version of you. Like, what adjustments do you need to make? Extend some grace to yourself, right? It doesn't happen overnight, but extend grace to yourself and just be the best version of you and go after it, right? So just cut social media and some of those things off if that's a distraction. Um, yeah, and just start focusing on you because you deserve it, right? You deserve it. So let this be so let this really be a new year and a new you. Really let this be a new you. And so I always say it, man. I'm gonna end with this. Don't be average. You might as well be elite. Let's get it, and I'll see you next week.